On October 3rd he asked me what day it was. I was caught slightly off guard, since it was such a strange question. I quickly realized he was checking if I remembered the date. I told him without hesitation that it was the 3rd of October, feeling slightly embarrassed that I had forgotten. I was relieved when he went on about his day. Later that day, I wondered why he had asked me that question. Perhaps he wanted to make sure I knew the date for an upcoming event or something. I felt like it was his way of testing me, to see if I was paying attention to details. I wasn't sure if I should be offended or not. I shrugged off the thought and decided I wasn't going to dwell on it too much. At least he wasn't getting mad at me for not knowing. It was still quite strange that he had asked me about the date though. It wasn't something he asked every day, so it felt weird to me. I went to bed wondering why he wanted to know the date so badly. I couldn't seem to make any sense of it. On the next morning, I headed to work and tried to forget about the incident. I didn't want to analyze it too much. I focus on my usual tasks, but I couldn't help thinking about it every now and then. I still felt a bit irritated. All day, I kept thinking about that question and why he had asked it. I felt it was strange that he seemed to care about it so much. I started to feel like he was testing me somehow, but I wasn't sure what he was getting at. When I got home that evening, I realized that he had probably only asked me to make sure I was aware of the date. After all, it was October 3rd and he had mentioned something about an upcoming event, so he was probably just checking to make sure I remembered. It made sense now, and I felt a little embarrassed that I had assumed his intentions were different. Still, I couldn't help but feel like this was more than a simple reminder. He didn't seem to want me to forget or miss anything. I found myself still pondering the meaning behind his question days later. I was sure I was missing something. I decided it was time to find out what he was really up to. I was determined to get the answer this time. Later that week, I asked him again why he cared so much about what day it was. I braced myself for a possible confrontation. He simply replied that he wanted to make sure I remembered the date for the upcoming event. I felt foolish but also relieved. He wasn't trying to make me feel stupid or test my memory, he was just being thoughtful. After this revelation, I felt embarrassed but also loved that he would care about me that much. I was touched that he wanted to make sure nothing slipped my mind, even if it was small details like the date. It made me feel like he really valued my presence, and it was sweet that he was concerned about what day it was. I was extremely grateful that he cared enough to ask me, and I could see why it was so important to him. I was reminded again why I like this man so much. It's the small things like this that make him so special.